There's a little bit of a recent update. Already got the doghouse, everything's on. Tuned the motor on instinct. Holy crap, what a discovery I made. So anyways, I had a little problem a while back where this little vent here was about an inch lower, and every time I go from gas to brake, I was always kicking at it with the toe, right? So anyways, I pulled this whole panel piece out, took it off the steering column, and trimmed it out a little bit with the Sawzall. So that's fixed. So placed it back in, it's nice. I still might want to shorten this bracket a little bit and maybe raise this steering post up a little closer to the dash. I don't know. Really wish I could go to that, but that one's tiny and it's not really good for a big heavy vehicle like this. So type of tires that are on this are really similar to that of a 4x4 truck. So if you hit something big, and this, oh fuck, this thing goes over curbs, like up and down curbs like nothing, right? Like the curbs aren't even there. Yeah. Yeah, but if you ever get one where it kicks back, and the steering, that can break, and you can break fingers with that. Makes the steering response a lot sharper though. It's like driving a video game. So I got another wheel in the Class C that'll swap right on that. It's got the proper adapter. It's off of GM. So that'll just be like a quick little fucking switch over real quick. Yep. Oh, the belly acres are all riding by. I'm just sitting here quiet. Look, there's no mess outside. People have been walking through and checking. You know, me and my cat, fucking city bylaw, has been poking around. Right? I've actually gotten that clean in this area. Right? Keeping like with my waste management and shit like that. To where they probably think I'm not actually here. They think I'm staying somewhere else or somewhere else using facilities and then coming back. And there is a little bit of that. There's a card lock down the street that's got a thing outside, right, for a washroom that I do go over and use. So, okay, so a little story on the tune-up. Discovered that the plug wires were an old set of auto plugs and wire set were all an old set of Autolite. Cap and rotor are in decent shape, showing some mileage, but you know, not ridden to death or nothing like that. It's, you know, a little bit. But the Autolite spark plugs, a couple of them were misfiring. They had burns, and the spark plugs still told a fairly good story. Now, Autolites are typically just some old fart pensioner who's, you know, only got a few years left of life kind of thing, or you know, long retired or something like that. And the motorhome's getting to be just a little bit too big, too bulky or something like that, so they decide to let it go to somebody else, right? Usually a family will take it. And some previous mechanics had gotten into it and played with the carburetor settings and different things. And then all of a sudden everything was just slightly off. Ignition timing was off. The front end alignment was way off on this. Like, surprising, the thing was even roadworthy to begin with. But the gas mileage was absolutely horrific, absolutely horrifying. I equivalated it to around roughly 20 to $30 an hour to drive this thing, and right now at our current fuel spike, upwards of around $40 an hour to drive this thing. Just turn the key and take it for a romp. So about roughly $40 an hour. Now I've idled it a handful of times, and then I was guessing on the timing because checked out the type of advanced system mechanically and vacuum advance on this distributor, and then notice that it has an abrupt stop on it. It's really restricted. So I'm not sure if it's getting like really the full 20-degree advance or not. and so all I've done was, given the amount of camshaft based on an RV, I was able to um, pull the timing advance quite significantly high, and got to a spot where all of a sudden the idle took right off. So turning down the idle settings, and then started leaning the fuel mixture way in while it was at this high idle. And I zeroed everything out on the carburetor, and then after that I knocked the ignition timing down by a few degrees, and then found just a real delicate spot in the ignition timing and the fuel mixture where this thing all of a sudden runs just super sweet, and it's not guzzling a lot of juice. So my small block was the opposite. I was using it in a different manner and really jumping all over it, and I like that it actually had reasonable fuel economy when I first got it, and it was easy to reset it back to that, right? But I ported it out to run it fatter and to run it faster. So, but this one's just got the real tiny ports, and all of a sudden it was idling extremely high, and it wouldn't come down. I also made an adjustment to the choke idle, the high idle on the choke, to where it's just a few hundred RPM above the regular low idle, right? And sometimes you gotta pump the gas 2, 3 times, 4 times to get it to actually fire up. I discovered that now, over periods of time of sitting and accumulating parking tickets, that's the amount of sitting I do. I calculated based on my fuel costs versus fuel savings, and determined that, well, initially the parking tickets are cheaper, but when you let the parking tickets go to court dates and conviction, overdue and missed court dates, then all of a sudden the cost more than doubles. And I've got a few right here, and yeah, sometimes I just randomly fucking sit here and watch traffic go by. So this area is talked about and I'm known about, and it's mostly the tweakers, the thieves, and people who are really money starved. And there is a almost kick to the teeth demand begging for catalytic converters. And you can see this dealership has me sitting here watching this back fence. And yeah, there's police patrols that come through here frequently. And as far as I know, none of this stuff is tampered with or touched. Next door over on this side here, these guys just recently started parking all these high-end trucks right next to me. Right? With no expectation or demand for me to be watching anything or keeping an eye on it. Oh. Yeah, somebody else, blah blah blah, living in a motorhome number of years, all of a sudden they got into housing. But they were under a different category. They got a long history of alcohol and substance abuse and different things. And what they've done was they fronted a false location of where they moved to under some low-income housing bullshit, and then they have moved, but I'm not exactly sure where. And then anyways, now they've got all their friends, family, and generally all the scavengers and all the lowlifes in this end of town all crawling up around here trying to get into my shit. Now I discovered that the thieves are all networked. They're all on phones and through Facebook and different shit, right? And they're on their own little network of, everybody who uses through, substance abuse and stuff like that. They're all networked in their own shit. And they've got their own, there's their own stories of this and that and everything else. And yeah, I'm a known landmark here at this spot. I'm even seeing if you Google map, I'm pretty sure you'll see one or both the motorhomes because of the period of times that I've been here. In past Google images, my van when I was 403 Van Dweller, my old van channel, um, used to pop up over at the workplace and the actual mailing address of my vehicle's pink slips. Right. The only issue I'm going on with here is now a number of years later, still sitting in the area, and all of a sudden I'm accumulating some weird file and some ongoing investigation through the city. At the same time, while it's looks like I'm violating several types of bylaws typical with this way of living. A lot of people are still frowning upon it. A lot of people don't like it and seem to think that I'm just polluting, like I'm sitting here just causing pollution. Well, what's the difference? What's the difference if I was living in a house or a cabin somewhere? It's no different if you think about it, except for in a cabin, you're on a piece of land someplace, you dig a pit in the ground, and you're done, right? You know. But yeah, here uh, I set up in a similar fashion as basically being about as environmentally conscious and eco-friendly as someone who's on an expedition or someone who's actually staying in Antarctica, for example. And so, even though this one isn't quite into that type of climate or weather extreme yet, has actually the potential to push a little further. So this one, the insulating is still a minor issue, and not a huge cost. It's not like it's not like I'm tearing out like massive square footage and going into a large area. All it is just a little bit of material removal, and then boom, boom. Once I get things down to bare metal or right to the exposed metal, then I can get my insulation pushed into that. So yeah, no, this is just a giant igloo. Yeah, is all it is. Yeah. Really cheap on the heating bill once it's all done. Once I get the upgrades and the improvements made, my projected heating cost, like on petroleum, is no more than $200 a year. And right now, my fuel costs are about 3 or 4 times that, like six to $800 right now. It's just my fuel costs. Gas, propane is just shy of $1,000 a year right now, and that's steep. That's a lot of money for me. Um, that even on an annual scale right now. Just not currently out there just yet. I'm still just trying to finish a few things up, stuff I'm still finishing working on. And the reason I'm having trouble parting ways with my old 21 foot, that motorhome there, is uh, I just got stuff in there I'm still attached to, stuff I haven't let go of. And then it's just it's been convenient, and my cat is extremely attached to it, will not let it go. Yeah. Oh, he's having a really tough time. He knows I'm bringing stuff in here and slowly emptying it out, and he's sort of freaking out and having a bit of a reaction to it. But he knows this one runs, it moves, it's nice, and he's getting used to it. He's just having this anxiety, and I'm going through it as well a little bit. So, but yeah, this is only kind of a small amount of stuff left in there. It's not a whole lot. So probably just gotta go run and get a couple more boxes. Yeah, I was thinking boxes or even actually shopping bins, a couple of tote bins maybe.